Wrestling is addictive. I mean, I guess I know in our film everyone had to cheer for my character, but I think just the noise and the adrenaline and, you know, getting to use your whole body and your whole voice, like as people, we don't get to walk down the street and do that all the time.
She opened the door to not just women wrestling, but also having women play a dynamic role in life.
You know, I like to think I'm athletic, but I'm not that type of athletic. So it's, you know, you take a lot.
1, 2.
So first of all, I really enjoyed Queen of the Ring. I'm a big wrestling fan and always love a good wrestling biopic because they always strike such an emotional chord. So I guess the biggest question that I have for you both is what made you want to tell the story of Mildred Burke?
I'm also a huge pro wrestling fan all my life. I fell in love with it at a very young age, and I grew up single mom, no dad. So I found a lot of my kind of like male role models, funny as it sounds, like in these wrestlers. And so it always, you know, was deep in me of just my love of these real life superheroes. And I called Jim Ross to ask him if he'd want to make a fictional story that was a love letter to all these great stories that I had read that were nonfiction. And it was going to be 80s period. And I just felt like at the time, this was before Mildred was in the Hall of Fame, and it was before Fighting With My Family came out. I didn't feel like there was a modern wrestling movie that had an inspirational, triumphant feel to it. I love The Wrestler. That's obviously about the decay and the decline of a talent. So I just felt like, as a pro wrestling fan and as someone who loves movies like that, let's figure out how to make one and do it fictional, because using anyone that's modern in WWE is very complicated, even if they're already retired. And JR told me about Mildred. He said, you should check out this book. I read it. In a weekend, I said, forget about the fictional thing. We have to tell her story. And Mildred's story is just so timeless and unique and inspiring and edgy and dramatic and unorthodox. And then the shoot matches, as a wrestling fan, I didn't know they did that with a live audience. I knew they would do it in the back. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, I'm never going to be able to top this writing something fictional. This is way effing cooler than anything I'm going to come up with. And the rest was history. To Emily.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised I didn't know this trailblazing woman's story. I was upset that I felt like I'd been done a disservice by history, the fact that I didn't know who she was. As someone who, you know, broke down barriers in the world that I am privileged to live off of, and hopefully get to continue in her footsteps, I think her story needed to be told.
Wrestling rings are so much harder than people expect them to be. So Emily, can you describe what it was like to take your first bump in the ring?
Oh, like eye-opening. I could see why people continue this profession and sport, though, because it is slightly addictive. Wrestling is addictive. I mean, I guess I know in our film everyone had to cheer for my character, but I think just the noise and the adrenaline and, you know, getting to use your whole body and your whole voice, like as people, we don't get to walk down the street and do that all the time. And getting to do that is such a privilege. You know, actors in stage, on theater get to do it. And when you're kind of in this type of role, you get to just completely express. So I just love that.
Ash, did you take a bump in solidarity?
Ooh.
I did. Well,
you took a slap.
I took a chop
across.
Chop. And then I also almost broke my neck, actually. When we were at the carnival, I was showing them how to kind of go against the rope to fly over it when two of the lady wrestlers go and chase them after. I ran and I didn't mean to fully flip over. I fully flipped over, and it was one of those moments where like it feels like 20 minutes, but it's like 2 seconds, and you're just going through your head like, wow, this is terrible. And I got really lucky that I didn't.
Yeah, you got lucky.
I got really lucky. It was like very bad.
The whole set was quiet.
Yeah. And I just went flying over it. So again, it's scripted, but it's not fake. You can die. You can break your neck. Oh yeah. It is a very.
It's a sport. It's an athletic force.
Yeah.
When matches themselves can be quite complicated. So Ash, who helped you put together the matches, and what was that process like?
So from a writing standpoint, as far as the emotional beats, that was, written. And some of it we found on the day. But as far as like the choreography, that's really a combination of Heath and Jet, our incredible stunt team, as well as Tony and Camille, because they were real wrestlers, as well as Al and
Dougie. OVW.
Yeah, OVW. So we really had a great, just, you know, an insulated world of fantastic stunt and wrestling people. But again, we're always trying to make sure if you don't care anything about wrestling, anything about the moves, why are you, emotionally engulfed in each match, and what is the story in it inside the actual film? So hopefully we executed that. We'll find out this weekend. But,
we will.
But yeah, it was a very great team, and so much appreciation to OVW and the city of Louisville.
When it comes to filming those matches, are you doing it all just from start to finish, or are you filming them in chunks?
Depends on the shot.
Yeah.
A wide, we're doing start to finish.
Yeah.
You need to get everything in the largest possible way, and then there's some close-up stuff, and then the handheld is all start to finish too, as long as the Steadicam op can move as fast as we can, you know.
Yeah. So it's literally a mix of both.
Yeah.
It's some all the way through, some just beats, just depending on what the setup is.
Cowboy switches with Kelly Phelan, my stunt as well, because she took most of the hardest bumps so that I could continue filming without a broken scapula.
And then Kaylee and Tony did all their own stunts.
Yeah, they're pros. I mean, they're taking my bumps just for fun when the camera's not rolling. I don't know what they're doing.
And they filmed for hours and hours and hours in a row. I mean, they had to take more bumps filming this movie in a set amount of time than I believe they would ever take actually wrestling in a federation, because those are obviously, 20 to 40 minute matches. This was hours and hours of it.
And that's what I want to ask about next, is because Tony Storm, Camille, Naomi, so many great wrestlers. Emily, how valuable was it to have actual wrestlers in the cast?
Oh, invaluable. I mean, there's no price that you can put on that. When Camille looks like she's not in the lead, she's in the lead. Tony's the same, I would not have been able to get to do what I did without them as my counterparts at all.
Was there any advice that you got from them that you didn't expect?
I guess.
Suck it up and take another bump.
Suck it up, baby.
This is just Tuesday.
They were just so supportive. I'm not so much sure. I mean, advice on how to hit the mat, how to take a hit in general, where to grab, that kind of thing. But I'm sure I wasn't doing it right 90% of the time, even after all that education, but they're making it look like I am. They really are the magic behind that whole authenticity of what makes our movie.
And it hurts a lot more than people expect. You get real big welts on your back from it.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of these like secret injuries. I'd be like, it hurts, but there's no bruise. And it really hurts.
Well, and I have to ask, your co-star for many years, Stephen Amell, also has an extensive history with wrestling. Did you ask him for any advice in all of this?
Well, I was just saying to Ash when I was telling Stephen or anyone from the show that we don't see each other that often, so seeing them briefly, that I was doing this movie. I don't know if anybody really took me seriously or believed me, or didn't know first of all, didn't know who Mildred was, and then also didn't really know how to process it. So we never really talked about it a whole lot. And I was saying, like, I'd see them periodically I was getting jacked. I'd just become like more and more muscular every time I saw them. But no, we haven't had a chance to talk about it, but maybe he'll watch the film and give me a call.
You will do what I say, or you will find yourself cleaning toilets in some arena after my show comes through.
The tone of a movie set is really established by number one on the call sheet. And Tyler, if you could describe Emily in just one word, what would that be?
Frick, good luck.
Dominant, but in a good way.
Yeah.
The kind of dominant that you like, Yeah, like you said, being a lead, you have to sort of. It's more than just sort of being this person that's in every single scene. You have to sort of dictate the tone of the set, you know. And she did it so well with so much grace and down. She was just down for the cause no matter what. And so thank God, because this I don't know if the movie would have been completed otherwise, because it's a lot of work. It was a lot of work for her, for the crew, for us.
Physically demanding,
and she was stoked the entire time. And I ride for Emily no matter what after that,
Oh man,
that was two.
Thanks. Thanks for calling me out. I would say Resilient. I would say resilient, just because she put her mind, body, and soul into this character and into this film, and what she did, even physically. Like, there was very few moments where she didn't have where she wasn't doing bicep curls. Like, it was crazy. She really did put so much into this project, and she's so caring and so kind and intentional, and getting to work with her was so fun. I also was a big fan of Arrow, and so to see her, I was like, oh my gosh, you're so cool. I don't know, to see her work as well was so special.
And to see her do something so physically demanding too, because Arrow, everyone's a superhero but her.
Right,
You know, so finally seeing her step into this role was just so
it was
great.
nuts.
So this is based on an incredible true story. Tyler, what stood out to you most about the state of wrestling at the time?
I mean, just how sort of, kind of volatile it was behind the scenes, I think because it feels like it's this big production, everyone's sort of putting on this big act, but behind the scenes, it does have its own story, which is sort of what our movie sort of dictates and tells. And, I feel like it also captures what the times were like, women empowerment was not a thing, and they were sort of ridiculed and, kept under the rug. And so the fact that, Mildred came up in a time where it was literally illegal in some states for women to be wrestling is just like, she opened the door to not just women wrestling, but also having women play a dynamic role in life, and so I feel like, the world of wrestling is a pretty good comparison to what the world was like back then, especially in the States.
Outside of the script, how much insight into these real life people did you manage to get? Like, Gavin, was there significant information out there about Joe Jr.?
There actually was a pretty decent amount of material that I could pull from, which was honestly such a blessing. And not only that, but Joe's grandkids are still around. And so to be able to hear stories about Joe, and what he was like and who he was as a person and as a father, like, they really loved him. Like, he was a great father. It just really went to show the type of person Joe was, and getting to pull that into the script was just so fun.
When you play Joe Jr. along with two other actors, since the others are so young, is there any kind of collaboration, or is it just take Ash's direction and go for it?
I'm super grateful to have Ash as a history book, essentially. He really did know so much about all of the characters and in the story and what it was really about, which is that women empowerment, which really is like Mildred Burke breaking through boundaries and really defying like so much in her time. And I'm just grateful that I got to collaborate with Ash on Joe, and it was fun for me.
Well, and obviously spoilers for a real life person, but I was shocked to see that JoBlo passed away just 1 year after his father. It's really tragic. Tyler, does that change anything about how you approach him when you find something like that out?
Yes. I mean, it shows how much he physically, emotionally, and mentally relied on this abusive person, That's what's so tragic about JoBlo, is that this man, his father, rules his entire world, but he hates him, and he resents everything about him, and he doesn't connect with anything that he's actually morally about, and he's completely on the opposite end of the spectrum, but he needs him to survive. And that is such a sad ending for him. It really is, and I feel so bad for the guy, and I love him. I really, there wasn't so much research to do on JoBlo. His story was sort of hidden. You had to kind of really dig for it. But what I found out and being able to play him through these moments and really sort of be there was you really feel for the guy. And I think a lot of him is relatable. And I think a lot of people will see him and feel seen and accepted and maybe want to, change routes or, find the peace inside yourself rather than rely on a whole person to do it for you. So it's a big deal.
Well, and Tyler, you have some great scenes with Josh Lucas. How would you describe the family dynamic between Billy and JoBlo? Because there seems to be a lot of friction there.
Yeah, there's so much friction, but it's very much a dictatorship, I think JoBlo he will maybe call his dad out sometimes and kind of try to speak his mind, but gets shut down very quickly. And so there's not much room for collaboration in this family. It's very much you do what I say or you're out on the streets, you know. And so growing up in that as a kid JoBlo is riddled with trauma. And yeah, you know, it's a really sad story. And I send my love to JoBlo wherever he is now. And you know, it's sad. Yeah, it's a tough family dynamic.
Well, and Gavin, were you disappointed at all to not be able to get in on any of the in-ring action?
You know what? Kind of, yeah. I feel like it would have been really fun. I don't know if I would have lasted very long, but
yeah, you would have.
Tyler and I, we actually were vetted into the wrestling world through what they called chopping, which was fantastic. It was just on a casual weekday lunch break, and we just heard about chopping, and we were like, we want to know what it's like, because I think that day Emily and Kaylee were going at it and just chopping each other, and like for the scene, it was.
Do you know what chopping is?
Yeah, sorry.
Is when you you know it. Okay, yeah, you smack on the chest.
Fan, yeah.
Okay, great. So we wanted to be jumped into the chop crew.
Yes, and we were marked. I was marked. My handprint didn't leave for like a week. It was great.
Yeah, and it was Kaylee, and Kaylee is
top notch,
tough person, and she got us good.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Well, Emily seemed to get the wrestling bug a bit, and I know you guys weren't in the ring, but you were certainly around it plenty. So did that extend to either of you?
You know what's funny is so much of my Instagram feed right now is all wrestling, is all WWE, and obviously John Cena just turned to a heel, which was mind-blowing, and getting to see like people's reaction to that is actually really fun. So I definitely have invested a little more into the wrestling world than I did in the past.
Yeah, I have a new appreciation for it. I grew up with it, didn't really follow it too much, but this movie really brought back a sense of theater. Like, these people are like putting on a fun story and then also like risking their lives while doing it. And I think that's super fun and admirable. And yeah, I love it.
In Washington, in history.
The film provides such interesting insight into these pioneers of professional wrestling. Personally, what intrigued you most about Queen of the Ring?
I was first really attracted to the idea of playing a real character. Playing someone that really existed. That's always been a dream of mine. And then I love a good period piece. I love a good origin story. And really what Mildred Burke went through as a mother, as a single mother, as a mother with a very complicated romantic life, seeing what she did and the camaraderie with the other girls and the adversity they faced and overcoming that no matter what, and how they paved the way for what wrestling is now. It's just a pleasure to be part of a story like that.
Well, and the tone of a movie set is really established with number 1 on the call sheet. So if you could describe Emily in just one word, what would that be?
I mean, she's the queen. She's the queen. She's, she was absolutely the leader and the number one on and off screen. And she, just embodied Mildred amazing, like wonderfully. And she's such a wonderful person. And really, absolutely number one, sets the tone always. And she did a wonderful job. I can't speak for the other women, but she made it very, very easy for me to fall in love and want to support her.
Mae Young is someone that I've been aware of since I was a child, as she was always such a big personality in wrestling. What was your favorite thing to find out about her?
My favorite, well, there are a lot of naughty stories about her that was really fun. Those aren't in this movie, but it was very fun to. I actually got to speak to some people that knew her when she was that age, and to hear those wild stories and just how wild she was very fun. And then to learn, where she came from and her backstory was fantastic, and then how she became the woman that we all know in her 80s.
She's very well loved in the wrestling world, that's for sure. And the film heavily hints towards May's sexuality, and Billy even has a line about her hooking up with a different dame in every town.
Yes, we shot a lot more of that is not in the movie.
That's what I was going to ask, because it feels like it's all leading up to something.
Yeah.
So
I do
was
think
that subplot cut?
I think that I mean, May was very rare in that she was openly gay in a time where that was almost unheard of. So I think it was important to the story that, I believed it was important to the story that was referenced and addressed, and to honor that bravery that she had. We did shoot there were some scenes of me and some women that I don't think made it in the final cut.
No.
Might have been a little too much, but but I do think that it was very important to honor that, in a time where that was, being gay you're segregated, you're looked down upon, and you face adversity. I think it was really important to honor that she was just unabashedly herself.
And did you have much experience with the wrestling world before joining the film?
No, I had zero. Absolutely zero.
Most people are quite shocked to find out how hard the ring is.
Yeah.
So can you describe what it was like to take your first bump in the ring?
I mean, we did training for a couple months beforehand, and we were just all bruised up. I mean, or I was, at least. Emily started before I think Marie and Damaris and I started, and Deborah was a natural, just natural. But we were, I like to think I'm athletic, but I'm not that type of athletic. So it's, you take a lot. And, I've just, there is enough amazing, talented, real pro wrestlers in the movie. I tried to focus as best on what I could do with character and stuff like that, and those moments in between. But I've got a hell of a lot of respect for those women.
Yeah. Well, and you had multiple pro wrestlers on set, from Toni Storm to Naomi. So were you able to pick their brains a little bit?
I think I was able to watch them. I was able to watch them and, watch their work, and they scared the crap out of me just because, do you know who you're playing? Do you know who you're playing? And I was like, yeah, I know. I don't know why I got lucky, though. I think I got lucky with this opportunity. So,
some of the other cast members were talking about being chopped. Did you get to participate in that?
Chopped? Yeah, I was there. I stood back a little bit on that. I saw Tyler got chopped. I did not get chopped. I think my son was in town that week too. I was like,
Was there anything that surprised you about the wrestling training? Because I know it's a bit different than what people usually expect.
It was, yeah, it is different. And it's very, it was hard for me because I've done quite a bit of stunts and stunt training. But I'd never done wrestling, and it's just a different thing. And it's much more, it's real. I mean, the injuries that I got were like real, surprisingly. But there is a theater quality to it, and a more performance quality to it than a raw fight. And that's challenging too, because that's just a completely different style. It's a completely different dance, completely different movement. And I say dance because of the ballet with the camera and the other person you're working with, but it is anything but ballet. Like,
I know one difficulty that professional wrestlers have when coming into acting is when wrestling, they have to be so large and over the top because you essentially have to play to the people in the nosebleeds. Did you as an actor find it difficult then for the wrestling part of then doing that, like over the top, like putting yourself out there for even the people far in the back?
Yeah, I think so, because I'm a much more internal type of person. So I'm, you know, I didn't have too much wrestling in the film. I think really Emily really nailed that. Really, really got that down and really did that an incredible job getting that down. And I think my favorite actual involvement was not a scene I was wrestling in, was when I got to be there on the sidelines supporting her in that last fight. And that was a real thrill for me, and that intensity and that love and that feeling was pretty special. And yeah.
Well, and Francesca, did this experience give you a new appreciation for professional wrestling?
Absolutely. It's a complete new appreciation. I mean, there's many actors that I love that have come from wrestling, but I didn't really know too much about it. Absolute new respect, and you know, I'm a new fan.
1, 2.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo remains an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.